And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show, Friday, December 26th. Hope everybody had a great Christmas, if that's what you celebrate, or I just hope you had a good Thursday, if that's all that mattered to you. We are back, though, to talk some basketball. 7 games on the main slate on DraftKings, 9 games overall. We're going to tiptoe through all of it. There's a bunch to talk about. And then we'll go on our merry way. But first, hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Morning, everybody. Good to have everybody here. Stephen Leibowitz on to New Year's Eve. Yep. That's one I don't ever care about. I never cared about it. Never really went out for it. Definitely not going out for it this year. Next year, maybe. Because next year we'll get the Friday New Year's Day, and it'll be a little bit more manageable. Friday Christmas next year will be sick. We're on a good stretch. Oh, here comes the dog. Come on in, buddy. Good boy. Agreed. Highly overrated. Highly overrated. So let's just dive into this one, break it down. If my wife wanted to go out to a house party, would I join her? She wouldn't. Depends whose house. It depends what we're doing and who we're doing it with. But like let's just use this year for an example. New Year's is on a Wednesday into a Thursday. I work the next morning. I don't give a shit about being up until midnight. I'm going to go to bed at 9 o'clock. Should the Nuggets move Cam Johnson? I don't really know how they would go about doing that. So, no. I don't. That would make their team worse. All right, I've got the injury report pulled up right now. Let's take a lap through that so we can set the table for what we have today. Actually, this should refresh right now. Yep, perfect. Okay. Heat at Hawks. 246 total. Hawks favored by 4.5. Actually, let me grab, just in case there's been any line movement. Might as well grab that now. All right, perfect. So 2.5 point line. Hawks are favored, 248 total. Q tag on Bam Adebayo. Q tag Kashad Johnson. Not that that matters as much. Mo Gay is also questionable for today. Everybody's basically available for Miami, which is crazy. Hornets at Orlando. Magic, 5.5 point favorites, 232 total. No Kalkbrenner still. No Mason Plumlee still. Liam McNeely, KJ Simpson, both with the G League team. Tristan da Silva is probable. We've been getting these like questionable plus then he's out type days lately. Not today. He's just probable. Goga Bitadze, questionable. Jalen Suggs, still doubtful. So a bit of a, I don't want to say short-handed Orlando Magic team, but, you know, missing their starting point guard, missing their backup center. Wizards, 7.5 point dogs at home against Toronto, 228 total. So 20 points less than the first game. For Toronto, no Jakob Poeltl, no RJ Barrett, Q-tag Colin Murray-Boyles. For the Wizards, no Cam Whitmore, who's going to be out for a bit with the deep vein thrombosis. And then Kispert got hurt again the moment he got back. Boston and the Pacers. Another 7 o'clock start. Pacers, 8.5 point dogs at home, 222 total. This Pacers team is dreadful. For Boston, though, Jordan Walsh is back. Still no Ben Shepherd, still no Nesmith for Indy, but they don't have any other weird stuff either. Sixers at the Bulls. Bulls are 1.5 point dogs at home, 240 total. No injury news for the Bulls. Q-tag Dom Barlow, Joel Embiid, Quentin Grimes, and VJ Edgecombe. So we have no idea who's playing for the Philadelphia 76ers today. Bucks, Grizzlies. Grizzlies 5.5 point favorites at home, 228 total. Gary Trent questionable. That cost me a Prize Picks card 2 days ago when he got injured during the game. Sad. I got the reboot or whatever the fuck they call it. I hate that shit. I'd rather just win or lose. Grizzlies continue to be a bit dinged up. Ja Morant questionable once again. Cedric Coward questionable once again. Still no Edey, Vince Williams, Brandon Clark. So that's where we stand. Yeah, this is Stephen Leibwood says a rare day of none of these guys on a back-to-back. Yeah, that helps. That'd be some real rude shit to give somebody a Christmas Day game and the next day. You'd hear a lot of belly aching about that one, I think. Suns Pelicans, 8 o'clock start. Pels are 5.5 point dogs at home, 238 total. Standard issue stuff for Phoenix. No Grayson Allen. Jalen Green is obviously going to be out for ages still. Herb Jones out for the Pels. Jordan Poole is questionable. Final 2 games are not on the main slate on DraftKings. That's Pistons Jazz, 9.5 point dogs. Don't know the status of Ron Holland yet. And then Clippers Blazers, 10 o'clock start. Zubac's obviously out. Robert Williams and Chris Murray both questionable. So that's just we're going to set the table for today so far as we slowly but surely work our way through each one of these games. Let's get it started. Heat Hawks. Let me filter this down. Miami or Atlanta. Now we do have a decent chunk of ownership coming into this game already. Jaime Jaquez is about 30% owned. So is Jalen Johnson at 10K. Khalil Ware's at 25. Davion Mitchell's at 20. Norm Powell's at 20. Bam at 20 with that Q tag. Wiggins is 15. And then you still got someone like Onyeka Okongwu around 10. Now, I don't want to dive too much into the logistics of these guys, but obviously a massive total in this one. It's a very good game environment. Now, we do have late swap opportunities, but you get Jaime Jaquez with a guard forward MPE. He plays a ton. Jalen Johnson is obviously just a fantastic per minute guy at this point. 6,200 for Ware is probably the thing that scares me the most here. Just because they have options. But as long as he continues to start, he's probably a hair underpriced right now. Davion's been weird lately. He's a guy that I typically get to a little bit more than I want to. But that's besides the point. Now, if Bam ends up out, that will get way more interesting because we'll be able to give Ware an extra minute or two. That will make him a priority play. And honestly, it probably makes someone like Nikola Jovic more interesting as a value option today. If Bam ends up out, Jovic 3,500 power forward center. If we can get him enough minutes to look like a decent value play, that'll be something we'll want to watch if we don't get Bam later today. but you guys can see the ownership right now. Outside of Jalen Johnson, Jaquez, Ware, Mitchell, Powell, Bam, Wiggins. 6 of the top 7 owned guys in this game all come from Miami. How do you guys feel about that? You guys like any of these Atlanta pieces? I think Okongwu's fine. It's hard to want to go to like Risache or Vit Krejci. It's hard to want to go to Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Dyson Daniels. There's probably something to an $8,800 Trae Young here. If he can just... Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Trae Young plays 35 minutes today. Not the best matchup in the world for him, but... Trae, as I look at this, Trae feels mildly under-owned. Nothing great, like he shouldn't be a priority, but mildly under-owned. But sifting through those Miami guys is tough. Like, it's pretty rare to have the highest owned guy be a bench guy. Now, I know, like, Jaquez is basically just playing the role of, like, Manu Ginobili for this team. So it's not, bench is a little relative, but still weird. But we got to have our eye on Ware and Bam. How have they been together? I haven't looked at it in a bit. All right, let's see. Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware. All right, both guys on 174 minutes, negative 14 net rating. Let's add some luck adjustments for threes just in case. Negative 10 net rating with Bam Adebayo on and Kel'el Ware on. Negative 2, just Ware. Plus 6, just Bam. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't look very good. I'm surprised they're continuing to go with this. Now, look, this is a small sample for sure. I don't want to overreact to that. But they've been pretty damn bad with the double bigs. Maybe they look to change that? Seems like they should. But it's not going great. It's not going great. Keep that in mind. Also, keep this in mind, too. They're not very good when it's just Ware. They're just average. As I look at this game, I'm interested in Jalen Johnson, Trae as a GPP pivot, and then Ware will look better if Bam is out. Let's go to game 2. Hornets Magic. I think we found our chalk of the day. This will not be surprising to anyone. $4,600 Musa Diabate, center only, 50% owned, and there's nothing we can do about this. Ryan Kalkbrenner is out. Mason Plumlee is out. They don't have enough centers. So Musa Diabate is going to play about as many minutes as he can handle. We've got him in for 31 and a half right now. Anywhere really in that like 28 plus range is what you're expecting. And that's going to make him the number one value play of the day, at least as of right now. Firm minutes, cheap price. Hard to get away from this. We've been doing it now for at least the last 2 games, I guess. It's not changing today. Musa Diabate will be one of the priority plays of the day, no matter what. Is he still a good play on FanDuel? Musa Diabate is 15% owned on FanDuel at 5,400. So, yeah, in terms of center-only people, it's him and Mamu. But yeah, still looks great on FanDuel. Obviously not as good for clear reasons, but still a more than solid play on FanDuel. Now, it's not just Diabate in this game. 25% ownership to Paolo Banchero, about 15 for Bane, about 10 for Wendell Carter Jr. Now, we need to remember, this team stinks when Jalen Suggs isn't around. If I go Suggs, Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo, Bane, look at this. When there are four main dudes, Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo Banchero, Desmond Bane, no Suggs. -5 net rating. When Suggs is on, they're positive in everything. When Banchero is off, they've been positive. When all four are on, +10. Orlando is so weird. Because, like, I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, $8,700 Paolo Banchero against the Hornets, missing their starting center, missing their third string center. This is going to be great for Paolo. And then I think about it and it's like, well, every time Jalen Suggs plays, these guys blow. It's not that I don't like Paolo, just scares me. Mildly more interested in Desmond Bane in comparison to Paolo. Shooting guard versus power forward, $1,000 difference in salary, slightly lower owned. I think I lean Bane over Paolo, even at the bigger ownership number. Sylvester wants to know about Tyus Jones. He's a terrifying guy for today. I don't totally know how to handle him because 3,800 is a great price tag. But we got to think about it in a couple different ways. Because he played 26 minutes last time out, or two games ago, 35 minutes last time out. But that's also without Tristan da Silva. I think there are two things that could happen here. One, it's certainly possible that Tyus Jones is not the starter today, and that it is Tristan da Silva. That is possible. We would have assumed it was going to be Tristan da Silva these past 4 games. He's just been out. So that might happen. And then two, if Tristan da Silva is just back, there's like 25 less minutes to give around. Maybe Tyus Jones continues to get those minutes. Maybe he goes back to playing 18 or 19 like he did in the first 2 starts. If he's 1% owned, I think that's interesting. Assuming he still starts. If he's not starting, you cannot play him. If he starts, there is a minutes upside that we don't really know. Now, he's a terrible fantasy player. But it's the kind of thing that I don't think is crazy unless we get like a bunch of other value and then there's no use of going to him. But my guess is with Tristan da Silva back, Tyus Jones is not going to play enough minutes to matter. Everybody on Charlotte outside of Moussa Diabate is not all that interesting. The highest owned Hornet is Con Knipple at 6,500. He's 5% owned. I don't anticipate LaMelo Ball to play a ton of minutes today, considering that just never happens. But, you know, realistically, it'll happen eventually. Maybe. But I've got my eye on Diabate for sure. Lock cash game option on DraftKings. And then I lean Bane over Banchero. Game 3. Next one up. Toronto and Washington. So Toronto, kind of used to them at this point. We've got the 25% owned special coming into some of these guys on Toronto today. We've got 25% ownership to Scotty Barnes, 25% ownership to Brandon Ingram, 25% ownership to a 4K Jamal Shed. That's kind of why you don't play Tyus Jones. $5,500 Sandro Mamukelashvili is 25% owned. And Emmanuel Quickley, just shy of that at 20% owned. The 5 highest owned guys in this game are all from Toronto. The highest owned Wizard is Keyshawn George at 6. I'm guessing that tells you guys what we need to do today. We're going to be playing a bunch of Toronto. That's what happens when you face the Wizards. The problem here is that I don't know how to separate them. If you tell me you like Ingram more than Barnes and Quickley, sure. You tell me you like Quickley more than Barnes and Ingram, sure. Generally speaking, I'll like Sandro Mamukelashvili the most because I could put him in at power forward at a cheap price. Jamal Shed closes from time to time. So I actually prefer these guys in the order of Mamu, Shed, pick a random one from the 3 good dudes. That's the best that I can do there. Mamu 1, Shed 2, Barnes, Ingram, Quickley in some order. From the Wizards, no shot. If I get a Keyshawn George or a CJ McCollum, it's okay. I guess Alex Sarr would be fine, but he's 7,500. They're getting bodies back. They're crowded. All these guys suck. I have no interest in hashing out whatever's going to work today for the Wizards. I mean, these guys are next level bad. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Just a bunch of negative dudes. So if you're getting anything, get to the Toronto Raptors. Don't go to the Wizards. Boston and Indy is likely a game that no one should be going to. We have 15% ownership coming into Andrew Nembhard. No one else has more than 7. Just a quick reminder that doing an NBA show at 9 a.m. for a 7 p.m. lock is always suboptimal. You know what's suboptimal? Being the person that comes into a chat to say that. You know, you could just not watch, not communicate here. Just thinking out loud. There's nothing coming into Indy and Boston. Zilch, nada, 0. And that's not surprising to me. 222 total in this game. Boston's got everybody that normally plays. The Pacers have, at least for this year, everybody that normally plays. There's no ownership here. You want to go to a $9,600 Jaylen Brown? I don't hate it as a small forward option. But he is expensive, man. Oof. I can't believe really that ESPN shows anything other than live sports. I figured they would just turn their cameras off for 10 hours a day until the games start. That would make sense, right? Like, I don't want a $7,600 Derek White with any sort of priority or an $8,100 Siakam. Like, every one of these guys is uninteresting. Like, I guess a $6,100 Nembhard's fine. But I don't... Like, is that exciting today? No, not at all. Not to mention, this is one of the 4 games that lock at 7. So... there's only, you know, you've got a late swap opportunity for Philly, Chicago. You've got another one at 8. Do you really want to lock in anything from this game right out of the gate? I don't. I think this is the least appealing game that we have. The pricing's not great. The players in certain situations aren't great. Like, Ethan Thompson's 3,400. Starts, plays big minutes from time to time. 0.59 fantasy points per minute. Hard to care. Hard to care. This is a tough game to want to attack. Especially with the fact that, like, we don't have any way to make it more interesting. Like, Jordan Walsh is probable. Talon Peters probable. Everybody else that normally plays. So we're not, like, squeezing any value out of Indy and Boston. So as best I could tell, this is, like, the least interesting game that we have. Philly, Chicago. Now, from the Philly side, we're not going to be able to talk about this in any way. There's no ownership in this game right now. No one is above 10%. Kobe White's at 9.5. Trey Jones is at 7. That's it. Maxi's 6. So, like, the Philly side could completely change. Barlow, Embiid, Grimes, and Edgecombe, all questionable. So that's 26 minutes of Barlow, 30 of Embiid is 56. Edgecombe gets you to 86. Grimes gets you well north of 110. Close to half of the minutes in this game are questionable right now. So, are we going to get value from Philly? Maybe. Are we going to know who we want to play from Philly? Not anytime soon. So, put a pin in the Philadelphia 76ers. If everybody's in, we are not going to be all that interested in the Philadelphia 76ers. If we get a couple of these guys out, then we'll start to create a bit of value. I think the Chicago side is equally as unappealing. I like the idea of taking a run on Kobe White. Like, that's a reasonable spot to me. I don't feel the same way about Trey Jones. I guess a $6,700 Vooch could be interesting here, especially if Embiid ends up out. But, like, I mean, Giddey's 9,400. I get a lot of Josh Giddey. I don't think today is going to be that day. I think there's a case to be made for someone like Buzelis, but at the same time, I don't like this game. I mean, we don't have anybody with an optimal rate higher than 8%. Now, guys like Edgecombe, I mean, Embiid, if he's in, like Giddey, they have reasonable enough boom scores. If you build a chalky lineup and you make a pivot to get to one of them, I think that's fine. I just don't see any volume in this game. I'm not going to offer my thoughts on OKC and San Antonio right now. I don't want to derail this entire thing. Because I will derail this entire thing. I will lay a lot of money on the Oklahoma City Thunder in a playoff series against the San Antonio Spurs, if the Spurs don't make any moves over the deadline. I'll put everything I can on on the Thunder. Let's go to that next one. Memphis and Milwaukee. What is happening in Memphis that we do the same thing with these guys every year? I feel like they're the only team that ever just has 8 guys for a game regularly. Gary Trent, questionable. Ja Morant, Cedric Coward, both questionable. So as we look at this one, we do have a giant chunk of ownership coming in. $5,900 Bobby Portis, power forward center, 30% owned. Totally agree. I don't know what's happened over these past few games where Doc was like, I guess we got to play him. But Bobby Portis is just out there. And assuming that continues and he's getting like 28 plus minutes, He's very clearly the best play on Milwaukee. Kyle Kuzma's not too far behind, though. 5,400, small forward, power forward eligible, getting that big chunk of minutes, 25% owned. Then the ownership falls off. I think KPJ at 9K is very reasonable. He's playing like 36 minutes a night. I'll roll the dice on Miles Turner, but not a lot. After that, it just falls off. Memphis's highest owned dude is 2%, and that's Jalen Wells. Now, if Ja is out and Coward is out, then we might have a little bit of value here for Memphis. Aldama's been playing huge minutes right now, 6,900, power forward, center eligibility. 2% owned. Roll the dice there. The KPJ one is wild. Him having a 9K price tag is nuts. Truly nuts. Do you guys like anything in this game outside of the two like heavily owned dudes? Nice call on Kolek yesterday. Yeah, I, for one, didn't expect him to get the final 8 minutes of the game after an injury, but, you know, I guess we all had that information before lock. God, I'm going to have so much Bobby Portis tonight. Like, right now, Bobby Portis is the tied for second most owned dude on today's slate. It is a big old Bobby Portis day. Big old Bobby Portis day. I don't ever get Bobby Portis right when he's chalk, so get ready for that one tonight. That's going to suck. Final game on the DraftKings slate is Suns Pels. Josh, he had like 19 fantasy points at the half. Okay. He wouldn't have been all that useful. But yeah, look, anybody that's going to play 8 more minutes than you expected them to play is probably going to look like a decent play. But no, I'm not going to recommend the 45th most owned guy on a slate and make it seem like I think he's a good dude. Johnny was 10% owned. Like, you act like I made up the numbers. I'm sorry that I didn't like the 7th most optimal play on one of the 10 teams. God, so ridiculous. He wasn't even a solid play. If he were a solid play, he would have been more owned. We don't have to just make stuff up. That's what variance is. That's why guys that aren't all that owned end up being in winning lineups. But we don't have to call him a good play when he wasn't. This is very easy. Let's get this final game up here. Ugh, Suns Pels. I can't think of a game I'd want to watch less. This is a turd of a game. And unfortunately, the ownership on Phoenix, he's playing noticeably different of late. Yeah, of course. I should definitely scout the third string point guard for the Knicks differently. Yeah, he's probably a completely different guy now. I wonder if him playing noticeably different will matter when all their guys get back and then he stops playing again. Yeah, everybody's a solid GPP guy. Why would I eat an L? You guys, does anybody understand DFS in any way? Do we need to have an actual conversation here? Like, what are we doing? 11% owned. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 20. He was the 28th most owned guy yesterday. What are we doing? I might add negative 11.5% sim ROI pre-lock. So, also the 30th best play of the day. Of course it was mocked. They should all be mocked. If he were a better play, he'd be more owned. Why is Tyler Kolek a good play, but Luke Cornett isn't? Or Alex Caruso or Mitchell Robinson? Why isn't Moses Moody awesome yesterday? Because he didn't succeed? So stupid. Play the 10% owned guy on a 5-gamer who's been solid lately. There is nothing more useless than who's been solid lately. Come on. He played 8 more minutes because Josh Hart had to leave the floor. If we want to start predicting injuries in-game, why do you think that being in a tournament-winning lineup makes you good? It's insane. Yeah, he played well. So did Alex Caruso. So did Spencer Jones. Why aren't we freaking out about how great of a play Spencer Jones was yesterday? He had a huge actual ROI. But you don't talk about Spencer Jones because we do a show for an hour. If you'd like us to spend an hour on every player and tell you guys they're awesome, I'd highly recommend going to listen to other shows in this industry that do that. But no, we're not going to do shows here and recommend the 50th best guy like it's real information. Where would that get us? Oh, DeAnthony Melton was great. He was 1.5% owned. I don't know why everybody didn't just play DeAnthony Melton when they knew he was going to be good. Oh, Jordan Clarkson, 1% owned. He was really good. Why didn't everybody play him? Tyler Kolek was a guy in a sea of guys that might have played anywhere from 15 minutes to 25 minutes. There's 3 of them on every single team. We don't have to pat ourselves on the back when one of them does it. I repeat, we called it live before live. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here because you guys are irritating. This isn't going to get me anywhere. So let's finish this Suns game off. Send you dopes on your merry way. 15% ownership to Gillespie, O'Neal, Brooks, Goodwin. 10 more for Devin Booker. Mark Williams, who doesn't play anymore, which is weird, is still happening. Oh, stupid PHX abbreviation. Here's the fun piece. Nobody is getting any love on the Pels except for an 11% owned Sadiq Bey, who is also 3% optimal. 3. Everybody else is sub 10% owned for the Pels. I don't know how you, yes, would I like to have a bit more of this game because it's late? Sure. Do I mind if I have a bunch of Gillespie or O'Neal or Brooks or Goodwin to offload here, guys? No, I don't. I don't know how to pick out of these. I mean, they're basically all the same value. 5.3x, 5.1x, 5.3x, 5.2x, 5x. All of these guys are the exact same play relative to salary. And for some strange reason, the Suns have all of the MPEs. MPE on Phoenix for Colin Gillespie, point guard, shooting guard. Royce O'Neal, small forward, power forward. Dylan Brooks, small forward, power forward. Jordan Goodwin, point guard, shooting guard. Booker, point guard, shooting guard. All these guys have MPEs now. Every other team is just like guard, shooting guard, small forward, power. No, not here. That flexibility for Phoenix, with this being a late game, I'd like to have too much of this and deal with it at 7:30 and at 8 o'clock and move that stuff around. Yeah, Steven, like, Oso Ighodaro getting real minutes at no ownership, I can see how that could be sneaky. No confidence in it for sure, but they seem to like him more than Mark Williams right now. That's for damn sure. Duren might be my favorite play today. Jalen Duren? I assume that's a FanDuel conversation? Did they accidentally price him dumb? No, 7,500. I can't imagine looking at this slate today and thinking Jalen Duren is the dude. What's been up with his playing time lately? Like, yeah, you know, if this game is going correctly, 32 minutes are on the table for Duren. If Ron Holland's back, it's an extra body. Duren scares me. Duren scares me. I don't know what's up with him lately. He's cooled off, like, in some way. I don't know what the deal is. He's too expensive. 7,500 for him right now is pricey. Like, I'd have a hard time grabbing him over a Okongwu. Yeah, I don't see that one. Not at that price. That's a tough sell for me. Like, I'd rather go to Santi Aldama, $600 cheaper. I mean, you got guys like Vooch and Wendell Carter Jr. at cheaper price tags, less owned than him. I'd argue that Duren might be like my least favorite center on FanDuel. Not that there's a problem, like he plays. There's not a problem with Jalen Duren. I just don't think he stands out in any way. Steven, yeah, Mamu is just center on FanDuel. Most owned just center dude, though, too. All right, here's the deal, guys, for the rest of the day. Because we've been here for 45 minutes. NFL strategy show coming up next. You guys know the deal there. And then tonight, it's standard issue stuff around these parts. Deeper dive at 5 p.m. Live before lock at 6. We will be here for 2 hours breaking down the rest of this slate and all the news that we end up getting. What was the best thing that I got for Christmas? Probably not a best. A lot of the same stuff that I like a lot. 2 new pairs of Jordans I enjoy. My father-in-law got me a signed Chipper Jones picture, which is pretty sick. Let's see, anything else? Nothing too crazy. Kind of a calm Christmas. We're going to be remodeling our downstairs. So I've got like $150,000 in construction expenses on the way. So we tried to be a little bit more tame for Christmas this year. The 2 new Jordans are sick. I'm pretty happy about those. Shout out to my wife. It was a big dub on that end. But yeah, no, Christmas was awesome, man. It was great to just hang out, chill, relax. We didn't do Christmas at my house for the first time in, I don't even know how long now. Years and years, probably 8-9 years. So typically I'm like a cooking Christmas Eve dinner guy for the fam. I'm a, Christmas dinner type guy. But I was at my father-in-law and my mother-in-law's house for the past 2 days. They took over. It was just the four of us. It was easy peasy. So I got to just relax for the first time in ages, which was nice. What about the Cialis chocolates? I don't have any of those. Wish I did. I've only ever took it in pill form. On that note, folks, I'm going to get out of here. This was fun. We're back Monday. Normal stuff. Grinding through everything as we head into 2026. Good luck, everybody. Follow along on Tails. I got a lot of stuff coming up later today.